Okay, I guess I'll go over offense first. This is Crash Course 101 Blackscent, aka clan warring, knowing your shit, alright? Blackscent, you should always be pushing the gen room. If you're not pushing this, you're not on a good team. This is the most crucial spot in the map. If you don't take this, then you don't have options. Because if you don't take gen, you can't push 2. I don't know what the password is. Do a /invite. So yeah, pushing gen room is very important. The first 2 guys who spawn on the right side should be pushing it every round. The guy who spawns the furthest to the right should be pushing over here, and the guy on the left, or the guy second most, should be pushing this. And the way that's supposed to set up is that you both appear at the same time when you come out of this area. You need to watch nades. There's a common nade spot right here, and there's a common nade spot right here. The last 3 guys, one should be watching this midsection, preferably scope, maybe from like right here. And then the other 2 guys can hug this wall before pushing in behind their team. Okay, when you push in, guy on the right needs to be pre-firing this, and the guy on the left needs to be pre-firing this. Alright, preferably an MK3 here. Or, yeah, you want a guy with an MK3 pushing this, and a guy with a para, or an MK3 right here. And then you push in and take top. The way this map, or the way this generator room set up is that both sides spawn, and the guy who gets the furthest most spawn will see the other guy who gets the furthest most spawn, unless it's point man and there's a rifleman or whatever the fuck. Point man will have the advantage at pushing this, but it's too random, so you can't really rely on a point man push. It does happen though, so be aware of that. On defense, they might push right here, and they have a pretty decent sight on the entire team pushing in, but they have to get up on this thing, and they're pretty exposed here. So just be aware that they can appear from here and here. Just make sure they don't get to that spot or this spot. That leads to trouble, because the guys who are behind you coming in to help you don't know that they're there. Okay, so that's important, and callouts might be too late. So make sure they don't push to this area. You want them only here, or you want them right here. Okay, you never want them hugging either of these walls. You want to take out those guys as fast as you can before the rest of your team pushes in. Okay, I'll go over the next phase.
Return to main base.
Okay, and most of the time you should be able to take gen. Offense side is a little more difficult than the defense side, but the defense side, I don't know, it's because they're usually doing a 2-1-2 anyway. It's hard for them to hold this, because there's 5 people pushing it. Right, so once you've taken it, and all's good, and you've gotten it without losing anyone, then you have 5 guys up. You have one of them watching the midsection, and you have 4 guys possibly in here. You want to try and get a pick if you can. There might be a scope right here, so guys should play this spot and get a headshot on him if possible. It's important to know if there is a guy hugging the wall right out here, so throw a nade. If this bridge is down, which it should be in a competitive match, then you probably won't be able to push it. And if that's taken out, then you can't really do much. You need to watch nades from here, and you need to watch nades from down here. So you don't want to be in this area unless you're committed to a full push. Anyway, if you get a pick, that's good, and if you don't, whatever. You want to throw a set nade to 90 degree. I don't remember how to throw it. I think it's this one or some shit. I don't know. But you just like throw that. I don't really know the nades. There's one that goes here. You can look online. This is an important one. You want to throw that nade, and you also want to smoke it if you can. You want to smoke right there. You smoke right there, and then you start pushing in from the back door. There's usually a guy here, or there's a guy here, or they're both there. So be aware of that. I usually flash the back like that. That keeps any guy from playing right here, because he either has to go up and expose himself, or he falls back. So I usually throw that flash, and then I pre-fire to the left, and then I go in. After you go in, expect a guy right here, and if he's not there, he might be over here, or there might be a guy on site. You need to be aware that they could be anywhere in here. Alright, you need to check everything. You can't leave any corner unexposed. Alright, so you have to check every single gay spot before you plant the bomb. So yeah, you need to watch that. It's important that you smoke this. That prevents a scope from picking you off from backdoor. and you need to have a guy watching the back door at all times, preferably in a dynamic position like this where you can watch two sides at once. You want that, or you want a guy in the gen room. Okay. When you plant the bomb, let's just get over there real quick. Couple things you should expect. There might be a mid push here, and they might rotate through mid all the way around to try and take this vent so that they can take vent from you when you get the bomb down. So be aware of that. Usually during a bomb plant, there's maybe 2 or 3 guys left if it's a good team. If it's not a good team, it's usually 2 or 1 guy. But usually you want to expect about 3. And if they have more than 3, if they have 4, then you need to adapt to that kind of situation by spreading out a little bit more. But if there's only 3 up, you usually want 1 guy playing Jack-in-the-Box. This is this spot where they can't see you unless you peek up like that. That's a good spot. Pyramid, which is our call out, is this spot right here. You can get a really easy headshot. The headshot line is right at that blue line, so you just aim at the blue line. You can get a headshot on a scope who's trying to like peek the back hall, or you, or Jack-in-the-Box, or whatever. Should be smoked though, so watch out for that. Whoops, I screwed up. But yeah, you can have a guy watching this. I would have a guy there, and I would have a guy watching the vent if you think there's going to be a guy pushing the vent. A guy can also play second floor right here in a really passive spot. This is a very good angle because you get to see them before they peek you, so you have a reaction time advantage. You can also play there, or you can hug this, like this right here. This will keep you safe for the most part, and if you have a guy actively watching the back, you can just play here and watch the vent. It's important to always have a guy watching the back. If you don't have a guy watching the back, someone needs to be watching the back, preferably from a location that's safe, like this one. This one is kind of a commit spot because you're cornered, but I mean, you don't really have a lot of options in the site, so it's important to branch out after you get the bomb down and have a guy pushing this back hall. Like this spot right here. This is a very dynamic spot, like I said before. It's a very good spot to defend from because you can watch this area right here and get a pick, or you can also get a pick right there. It's very easy to play these 2 angles, but it's also a very risky spot, so you want to be paired up with someone, preferably a guy right here, for example. So if you have 4 guys up, for example, then what I would do is I would have 2 guys watching the back hall. A guy could be playing the vent area, like right here. I don't really recommend this, though, unless you think there's going to be a guy coming from the midsection towards Gen. If you don't think they're going to be there, then the best spots to play would be right here and having a partner play right here. So that way, if you see someone and he starts shooting, you can shoot too. And the other 2 guys can be watching the front door. You can have a guy at Pyramid here and a guy at Jack-in-the-Box. And the guy at Jack-in-the-Box only peeks if this guy shoots. It's important that you bait your teammates correctly, because if you do that, you create 2v1 situations, which is what you want. If you're not doing that, then you're not playing as a team. So you can have a guy there, and you can have a guy right here. And basically that has you covered for the most part. The guys at the back hall can just call out if they see someone. A scope can play the back hall, by the way. He can play right here. He could be the guy right here playing this spot, and he can just like scope here. And if there's a guy coming in the front, he can just scope it as well. Very good spot to play as a scope. You don't really want him in the sight because you don't want to be up close when there's a bunch of rifles spraying at your face. So you want to play as far back as you can. Use that distance to your advantage. And have a guy up front like that, or over here. Mix it up though. You can have a guy there. You can also, I don't really recommend this spot unless it's a 1v, or it's a 3v1 situation where you have the advantage and you're all peeking the same spot. This is a decent spot to play because you can just kind of peek out and get them, and most of the bullets will not penetrate this or hit you. So this is a semi-safe location. I don't really recommend it, like I said, unless you have a man advantage, like 3v1. You want like a 3v1 to use that spot. If there's a guy pushing from vent and you know he's coming from vent, this is a wonderful spot because he can't see you and you have the advantage from this position. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up for pushing 2. Just remember to smoke that. Scopes in the back hall, and have 2 guys watching the front at all times. Set up a crossfire. Make sure your team is only baiting 1 guy at a time. So whoever shoots, the other guy peeks at the same time. Gets the kill. That's important. Also important, little fundamental is if you pre-fire this location, you want to relocate to a different location. That's pretty much any sort of defense, you need to be doing that. You need to get pot shots and then find a different location to shoot from. You should never be playing the same spot if they know you're there. You always want to mix it up. So if you see a guy pushing in, so you just shoot at him, and then you find a different location, like this one right here, or you play over here. Sorry, over here by this pillar thing, and that way you can still set up crossfire with your teammate if they're pushing in, but you're playing a different location. So that's important. Same goes for a scope. If a scope misses his shot here, he can just call out to his teammate that a guy's there if he doesn't know he's there. That way the scope doesn't have to re-peek, and this guy right here can try and get the pick on him because he has to drop on him, and he thinks that there's a scope right here, so he's going to be aiming left, he's not going to be aiming right. Like, basically you just want to set up a crossfire a crossfire with a teammate so they don't know what to expect at any given point. You shouldn't be re-peeking, is my point. You should never have to re-peek. You should always have a teammate help you and then bait them, or vice versa. Okay, that's important on a bomb plant or defense. Defense, that's equally as important. So that's site 2 basics. There's some shit you can do with that. You can kind of branch out from that blueprint, but that's basically how you want to take 2 if you're pushing it. You can have a guy push mid, but that, I mean, honestly, it's too risky. You want to have the 5-man push. You don't want to push mid unless you're taking 1. So that's that. I guess I could go over site 1 push. Okay, this one's a bit more interesting because a lot of teams just kind of wait it out when it's actually better to just push it straight on. Good thing to do if you're not pushing street is to smoke it. Okay, you want to smoke this area right here. Oh wow, ain't got stuck. What this does is this prevents them from being able to scope, and this also keeps a guy watching it. Okay, they have to watch that because you could appear from there, and they're trying to get UAVs from here. So you're preventing one guy from actually going into the site while the team's rotating because you have a smoke down. So you kind of use that as more of a distraction than as like a smoke screen. So you're basically keeping one guy watching that at all times while you're pushing into the site. There's a pretty common nade that everyone should know. It's like the staple nade for Blackscent. It's the one from warehouse to hole in the wall. And it's this one. You throw that nade that kills the guy at hole in the wall if he's peeking it. The key to throwing this nade is not to throw it before you go out. You want to throw it after your team's going out. So you want to leave a guy in here while you have 3 or 4 guys pushing out into site 1. And when they're doing that, that's when you throw it. Because what that does is that they see that you're pushing out, and then they're calling out, and the guy at mid is like, oh shit, I gotta help them. And clearly the only spot he can help from is the hole in the wall. So if it's timed correctly, he will get naded. This doesn't work every time, obviously, but it's a good countermeasure to keep them from playing that area against you. So you want to use that. The guy's pushing out. It's important to have a flash nade out. What this does is this calls out left and right. So you know if there's a guy going to be playing there. If they're not playing there, you can charge straight in because you've got cover from over there. I recommend the first guy going out always checks right, and then he just keeps going. And then he pre-fires this. I would do that. And this is a very important spot. Forget about that. When you're pushing in, first guy needs to make note of a lot of things. He needs to see if there's a guy here, and he needs to see if there's a guy here, and then he needs to pre-fire right here. And then he goes in like this. Okay? The second guy needs to be going in right and taking the green wall. And then the third guy is just charging straight in. That way you're kind of fanning out and you're getting all the angles all at once. And what this does is this allows your teammate while he's pushing the green wall, the third guy or the first guy can be pushing in and checking everything while he's checking the opposite direction. This is all happening at the same time. So that way you guys know if they're playing the gay spot here, or if they're playing the gay spot here, or if they're playing the gay spot here. If you time this right, you guys should be able to just get the kills and go straight in. If not, it'll alert to your teammate that he's there, and then your teammate can just pre-fire it and get the kill. Common spot right here is a scope. Scope plays right here a lot. Alright, you need to expect the scope right here. That's why I said the first guy needs to be pre-firing this section. This prevents the scope from getting quick picks. So that's crucial that the first guy's kind of pre-firing that angle, because that keeps him from being able to peek and shoot back unless it's rifle. At that point, it comes down to a lot of just gun skill and aiming, just being able to outshoot the other team. But you guys should be able to take the site just based off that blueprint, because the timings should be perfect if you're all pushing out at the same time. Like I said, second guy goes here, the third guy's going over here, and the first guy's just pre-firing this angle right here. Okay. After that happens, after you've taken the site, you smoke the stair. Very important, you want to smoke the stair right here. Okay, that prevents scopes from getting picks from here, or from there, or from there. That way, this is completely smoked, but your scope can play another angle like this one. He can play this angle. That's considering that there's not a guy there, or there's not a guy here. The scope's got to know where they're coming from. It's all about callouts. They need to be aware of what's going on at all times. If they know that there's two guys at the spawn, he can play this. If he knows that there's a guy coming from mid, he can play this angle. Okay. But it's all about the scope from here on out. The scope should be getting all the picks from this point on. He should be playing a lot of different angles at all times. It's important that your scope doesn't only... He plays more than just blue box. Like, I see a lot of teams, they'll just have their scope playing the cross right here. And half the time, they'll miss because this is completely smoked. Okay, you want your scope close enough so that he can be a dynamic player in the bomb plant, and you want him far away enough so that he's still effective at outshooting anything at a given distance. Okay. So that comes down to scope. And remember, like I said before, if you're on a bomb plant, you should be relocating after each shot. So if you miss your shot at white barrel, or if you get your pick, you fall back to one stair, like right here. Okay, good spot. This is a wonderful spot. This covers the back, while your teammates can be covering the front. While you're defending on a bomb plant, the rifles should be playing dynamic spots, like crossfires. Right here, this is a wonderful spot. If you have a guy here, and if you have a guy here, you have a crossfire set up. When this guy shoots, this guy peeks. Okay? Okay, when he shoots, this guy can peek out and get the other angle on him. Or if there's a guy pushing the sniper corner, you have a guy watching that at all times. So basically, you're just covering each other. That's teamwork. It's all about the crossfires at that point. If you're not setting up crossfires, you're just getting picked off. You're setting up 1v1s, and you don't want that. You want to be outsmarting your opponent. You want to be setting up as many crossfires as you can at any given point. So you just need to communicate with your team. Have a guy play here. Maybe have a guy play right here. So that way he's watching his back, while at the same time, if this guy shoots, he can peek out. And at another time, you could have a guy playing this spot right here. This is another great spot. What this does is it allows him to play the white barrel while being mostly concealed, and that way, if he hears gunfire, he can just peek out and shoot him. I think you can see my shoulder at a certain. I think it's at like this angle, but you're not really looking at that when you're pushing in. You're mostly trying to look for a guy over here. So this is actually you're slightly exposed, but it's not an angle they would expect. So you can play it. Play. Yeah, it's a wild card spot, but you can play that. You can play right here. You can play right here. This is a wonderful spot. I see scopes play here all the time. This helps you get the pick further down sight, and it lets you see over the smoke slightly. But yeah, you can play this spot. You can play right here. Basically, you just want to bait one guy and the other two guys cover him when he starts shooting at any given point. So this right here is a good spot too, if you have a guy playing right there, because that way he's going to be aiming for him, and then this guy can just peek out and shoot him. Like I said, it's all about crossfire. All about crossfires. It's all about just setting up the angles so that you are most effective as a team. Okay, and it comes down to sniper picks too. Sniper should be getting at least 2 kills on any bomb site 1 plant. Like that should be a given. He should be able to get this pick and this pick, and then fall back, and then maybe get a third if they're still pushing the back. Like that's just how it is. I'll go over how to play mid on offense next round. Okay, let's just wait for spawn, I guess. But yeah, mid is one of those wild card things that you don't want to do every round. You only do it maybe once or twice in a game. You want to avoid abusing mid. You only want to use it once in a while. But the way you do mid is basically how mid works is that you enter from there the second a guy enters from here. Okay, so what that means is there could be a guy right here as you're pushing in. That should always be a possibility. You always need to check this. There can always be a guy right here. And the way this works is that the second he peeks from this angle is the second your guys are able to peek from that exact same angle. So that's how that works. So it's important that when you're pushing site 2, for example, you have a guy in here, preferably the scope, hard scoping this spot right here. If you hear the door open, obviously you want to check that, and then if you miss, you just fall back over here, hug the wall, and try and get into gen as fast as you can. Preferably that doesn't happen and you are a good scope and you can handle this. But if not, then it's important to take mid. I would say 90% of the time, if not 95% of the time, defense will not push this. They have no advantage by pushing this. And what I mean by that is a team can just rotate through pink room, or a team can just rotate through their spawn all the way to the other site if they want to. And basically by taking mid, you're just gambling if you're going to get that kill or not. And more than likely you're going to get picked off from here if you're on defense. But anyway, offense. So you want to secure this. You want to make sure this is clear. You want to make sure this door is closed. And you want to make sure this is covered right here. Okay? You don't want to push this if you don't have to. This is a sniper spot, I would say. So if you're a scope, you want to crouch and peek right here. Well, I just lagged. You want to crouch and scope right here. If you don't see anything, that's when you walk and then peek and then do a fast pick right there on one stair front. So, but that's going way too in detail. Mid is all about the wild card play where you just push mid. This comes down to timing. You want to time this with a grenade, and preferably you want the grenade to come from the hole in the wall or a guy throwing the nade right here. Basically what this does is you time it with the explosion, and then you're able to push in and take sight without them being completely aware, because they're so preoccupied with the noise that only a guy actively watching the door will be able to pick you off. But you always want to time that with a nade. If you can't, then you shouldn't be pushing it. So yeah, so if a guy is throwing the nade from warehouse, for example, and you time it right, and you get this door open, the first thing you should do is check this crack, and if you don't see anything, you want to pre-fire this right here, and then you want to do a quick peek like that, where you basically just do a fast peek, and then you peek the back corner. And then after you do that, you want to get back inside and then secure this. You can kind of switch this up. You can kind of peek this and then go around like this if you know that they're out there, if they're on map for some reason. Just mix it up, but make sure you're securing this. It should be 2 guys securing this unless you're doing a full 1 push. For site 2, I don't recommend you push this. There's honestly all you get is you get mid, but I mean there's no reason to take this, because even if you do, they're just gonna be watching this the entire time as they're rotating around while you're pushing in. And if you're on offense and you're trying to like play this, you're exposed from the back and you're exposed from the front. So I mean, honestly, you're just risking yourself. It's really risky, and you don't want to do that unless you're doing a complete wild card. But like I said, you should only really push mid if you're pushing one, because you're just trying, by taking mid, you're just making sure that hole in the wall is completely secured and they can't abuse this or use it against you. And this also makes them have to worry about the split, because they know that there could be a guy in mid at that point, and they can't just push straight to one, because there might be a guy back raping them at any given point. But when it comes to site 2, it's almost backwards, because there could be a guy there and there could be a guy here, and if you're trying to pick off the guy here, you get picked off from the guy over here. Like, basically, just don't push mid. You can open the door and kind of like harass them, but don't like push this entirely if you're pushing 2. No reason to. Just do it if you're on site 1, or if you're pushing site 1. So that's mid, and that's kind of Blackscent offense in general. And I think that was 10 rounds. Wow.
Operation
But yeah, that's Crash Course offense.